Everyone who knows the Healer family knows their past is super mysterious. But are you ready to find out what happened before Bluey was even born? Lie. Did you know that Frisky only married Bluey's uncle because Chili made sure the two of them met? It all started in the episode Double Babysitter, when the Healers had to go out for something important. Most of the time when the parents of the main character need to leave, they pick Frisky to look after the pups. But since Bandit's older brother was in town, the idea was to call Uncle Radley so he could spend some time with his nieces. At least that's what Chili made it seem like. But that wasn't the case at all. Let's be clear, Bluey's uncle doesn't live in the city, and whenever he's in Brisbane, the family gets together since they don't spend much time with him. In other words, Chili knew very well that her brother-in-law would be babysitting that night, and it makes no sense that she would have forgotten that Radley was there. That means she didn't tell Frisky on purpose. But why would she do that? In the episode, we find out that Bluey's godmother had just broken up with Bosco, and since Radley was single, Chili had the idea of putting the two of them together in the same house. But how could Chili know that the relationship would work out? Simple. She's known Frisky for decades and knows exactly the kind of guy she would be into. And just like we know you, we know your popcorn's already ready. So kick back on your couch because another Cinewave is about to begin. Trixie. Aunt Trixie was also one of the victims of Chili's plans. You know the two of them loved to play field hockey together, as shown in the episode Horse Ride. The theory is that this was actually where Trixie first met Chili. That's true because the sport connects the two of them, besides family of course. As we already know, Chili likes to come up with plans to introduce her friends to potential boyfriends who are really good guys. And let's be honest, that's exactly what friends do for each other. Chili knew Bandit was the best fiancé in the world, and because of that, it was normal for her to think his brothers would also be great matches. For sure, Stripe, Bandit's younger brother, met Trixie during a hockey game, and Chili happily introduced the two. Could that be why Muffin and Socks are younger than Bluey and Bingo? Because Stripe and Trixie met later? That's very possible. The house. Have you noticed that the Healer family's house is the same place where Bandit grew up with his brothers? Yes, that's something we can confirm. In the episode The Creek, Bandit tells Bluey he loved going to play there when he was a kid. But that place is close to Bluey's house, and not the apartment where Grandpa Bob and Grandma Christine live. But maybe you're wondering if the family house is that place that shows up in the episode Fairy Tale, but that's not it. At the beginning of Bandit's memory, he says he was on vacation with his parents and brothers. They didn't live there, and since Bandit said he liked playing at the creek when he was a child, it's obvious that they lived in the neighborhood where that place is. On top of that, Bandit has known the neighbor, Miss Doreen, forever, and since she's about the same age as Grandma Christine, we believe the two of them were always friends. That's even more proof that Bandit grew up in that house and that he kept it after his brothers moved somewhere else. Plus, that house is proof that the Healers are very wealthy. Millionaires. Yes, the Healers are filthy rich, and if you didn't notice this just from the mountains of toys Bluey and Bingo have, we're gonna show you more proof right now. To start, Chili's job as a security agent at an airport is important, but she doesn't really do that for money since Bandit is one of the most famous and respected scientists in the world. In the mini-episode Archaeology, we find out he's the one who discovered the ancient dogs in Bluey's world. Throughout the whole series, we only see Chili and Bandit actually going to work a handful of times because they spend most of their time at home. And besides that, we know they're rich because of the house. You know the show takes place in Brisbane, Australia, and the show's creators use real-life locations to set the story. Based on everything we've seen, it's correct to say that the Healer family house is in an area called Paddington, which is a neighborhood where houses cost more than $1 million. And that makes us wonder, what exactly is the real source of money for our main characters? This has everything to do with their past. Bandit is a very famous archaeologist worldwide, and that's what gives the Healer family such a comfortable house and loads of toys for the pups. Would you like to work with Bandit? Drop a hashtag Bandit in the comments so we can connect. Dispute. Do you remember the episode Dragon, where Bandit was talking about his old schoolmate Bucky Dunstan? That's the same character who helps Bandit sell the house, but have you ever noticed that maybe he had something to do with Chili? Yes, Mr. Healer's old classmate might have competed with him for Chili's love. Shocking, we know, but in the episode The Show from Season 2, we find out that when the couple first met, there was a dispute. When Chili brings it up, Bandit makes a face because he doesn't want to remember the past, and the reason is simple. During the party where he met Chili in London, Mrs. Healer explains there was a competition. In other words, Bandit had to compete with someone else for the love of his crush, and we believe that it was Bucky who also wanted to win Chili's heart. The theory makes sense because there's no other character that Bandit talks about with that kind of bitterness. But when Mr. Healer mentions Bucky, he says he doesn't like him because of a school drawing, but that seems like a pretty small reason to hold a grudge for this long. So maybe the real reason Bandit stayed annoyed with Bucky was that rivalry for Chili's love. Not that she's a trophy, but Bandit won in the end. Of course, this is just a theory, but one thing is a fact. Some sort of competition definitely happened on the day Bandit met Chili in London, and the show really should show us how that day went down. The lookout. Do you remember the day Chili took her daughters and nieces to that lookout to look for Frisky? Mrs. Healer says that she and Frisky always went there to think, but that's not exactly what they did. In reality, Frisky and Chili liked to go to the lookout during their teenage years because they wanted to sneak in a few kisses with their boyfriends. That's probably where Frisky met Bosco. And how do we know that? Simple. That's exactly what teenagers do when they go to lookouts. They meet up and date. Whether Bandit also went there with Chili or if Mrs. Healer had a boyfriend before that, we still don't know. But one thing is certain, Chili lied to the girls when she said she only went to the lookout to think. Chili, we know exactly what you were doing there back in your teenage years. Mysterious friend. In the episode The Sign, when Frisky runs away, Chili talks to a mysterious friend of theirs named Cookie. We believe this character is the other maid of honor at Bluey's new aunt's wedding. But this character has an important role in Frisky's past. They're not just friends, they also share the same family. If you pay close attention to the wedding reception scene, you'll see that Cookie is sitting next to Frisky's brother, and she's probably his wife. Or at least it looks like the two are dating. Could this mean another wedding is coming in season 4? Maynard. Remember Chili's dad's neighbor Maynard? That character is at Frisky's wedding sitting at the bride's family's table. But have you noticed that he might be more important than just a family friend? He's very connected to the lake that shows up in the episode Granddad, and Chili showed that she swims pretty well. We believe it was Maynard who taught Chili how to swim. Pretty cool, right? It would be super fun to see little Chili learning how to swim as a kid. And it would be even more fun if you hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Bob. Have you noticed that Uncle Radley looks like a mix between a blue heeler and a red heeler? He's got both blue and red fur, but Grandpa Bob and Grandma Chris are blue. Here's a fun fact, red-colored dogs of this breed are actually more common, which means it's almost impossible for two blues to have red puppies. That makes us think Uncle Radley might actually be Grandma Chris's son with another dog from a previous relationship. But to this day, we still don't know who that character is. Do you believe in this theory? Snickers. Snickers' mom was at Frisky's wedding, but her son and husband weren't. That makes us think Bluey's friend might be sick. This character also wasn't at school when Bluey said she was going to move away, and that's another clue that he isn't doing well. Could this mean he's been sick for a long time? YouTuber. Muffin is an internet celebrity, and we know this because of a mini episode showing her doing an unboxing. If her channel is big, we can say for sure that she makes good money. Could Muffin's channel actually be the one supporting the family? We'll find out everything in the next season. Could Uncle Stripe have retired from his job to manage his daughter's channel? That could very well be the case. Brandy. Remember the episode Fairy Tale when Bandit meets a pretty girl dressed as She-Ra? He said it was Chili, but Mrs. Healer said she doesn't remember. And one thing that could have happened in the past is that Bandit might have met Chili's sister instead of his future wife. That's possible for 3 reasons. 1. Bandit thinks the girl was Chili, meaning she looked like her. 2. Chili said she doesn't remember. 3. Chili said her family vacationed in the same place. In other words, Bandit might have met Brandy and not Chili. Winton. And finally, we know that Winton went to live with his dad, along with his dad's new girlfriend and the Terriers. But in the episode Helicopter, he says he lives with his mom. In other words, Winton is no longer living with his mother. But why? Did she abandon him? There must be a reason behind this change, and it probably has to do with some fight Cornelius, his dad, had with his ex-wife in the past. But what do you think? We think it's time for you to pick another video to watch. We've lined up 2 more just for your fun. We'll see you in a bit. Until next time.